Today's focus is on a trading technique that we've described before, but I'm calling it the 0-0 rule. And by understanding this better, I think this will improve your trading activity over time. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy this show, please take time to like and subscribe as well. I also wanted to note that this is a copyrighted broadcast. Any reproduction of what's said here, etc., is prohibited. So please make sure your channel doesn't get shut down and do not copy our material all the time. So what I wanted to cover today was the fact that Tesla is now down heavy. It opened up at 716 yesterday. It's now in the 675 zone. And man, that's a huge 40-plus point drop over the last 24 hours. As you know, the reason this occurred is that we're in a bit of a battle right now. We used to have the pin process occur starting on Thursday, where market makers would force the price down and we'd see a lower price at that point. Starting, I would say, 2 weeks ago, we started having a new thing occur, which was, why don't we start the pin process on Monday or Tuesday rather than on Thursday, so that we can make sure we get that pin or dropping of the stock very low to stick. So what we found strange is that basically maybe 2 weeks ago, the focus was on the fact that Tesla's sales were down because the number of vehicles sold in China had declined. We then had even Barron's, that tends to not like Tesla, articulate the fact that, yes, sales are down in China, but the production numbers are up. In Shanghai, they're just distributing from China to many other places than just China. So therefore, China sales might be lower for Tesla, but they're not overall lower for the company. Nonetheless, every time a piece of news like this comes up, it may not be quite a 3-day rule. I'll call it the 48-hour rule for this example. What the 48-hour rule is that if you have a bit of news that comes out, you could wait for the large institutions to react to that news after a few days, and that kind of tends to work. What can also happen is the fact that there's actually what I would call a bot battle. There are these robots that are used by large institutions, particularly hedge funds, to sort of manage portfolios automatically. So there was an illustration of this a year ago in the February timeframe. Tesla had announced earnings, and there was a process that happened where Tesla stock price was at 960, and this was like Monday, Tuesday, but by Thursday the price had fallen under $750 a share. So what happened there was it was explained the process that was used. So part A of the process was there's a news that were put out on friendly sites, and that sort of brought the stock price down. You know, the high was 960, but it was around 910 at that point. So what that news flash put out did was it caused Tesla's stock price to actually fall below 900 a share slightly. It might have been 3 or 4 points below. What then happens on the zeros, or 00 in this case 900, is that there are a number of entities, both individuals and institutions, that have what are called stop losses. So if the stock gets to a certain number, they're told to immediately sell out. The problem is that if there's a large number of stop losses all at the same time, then your actual sell point may be below, let's say, in this case it's 700, then it was 900. So the sell process will begin, and as the computers start selling aggressively, usually for a stock the size of Tesla, the stock will actually fall into the high 80s, call it 88, 89, 86, someplace in that range from, in this case, 700, that would be in 688, 686, 685. In that range is where it goes. So notice how, even though there's a stop loss in place at 700, once the auto selling occurs, the next opportunity to sell is when you get to sell out, and it may be 10 or 15 points below what the stop loss number was. It really depends on how many shares are being sold at the same time when you get executed. But bottom line is you're getting executed below your target number, but the goal is to save money. So we kind of saw this occur with Tesla yesterday, where the news came out of the government formal inquiry into the autopilot system, etc. And this news has been out there for a while, but there's a process of levering the government inquiry through different media outlets that the hedge funds control to sort of get the news out and therefore sort of put a freeze on the stock. And the freeze went pretty well because it froze it right through 700 towards the 680s. So one of the people who helped execute the trade from last year explained that this process is that you actually borrow a bunch of shares. In the case of last year's incident, they actually borrowed 2 million shares of Tesla, and then they sold them 10 points below the last price. And so when you have large sellers selling large amounts of shares below what the last bid ask was, it tells the robots and other traders that there's somebody that's trying to sell out and they're willing to take lower prices to get there. And so based on the model we had from last year, this is kind of illustrated at the zeros. Both the bots and individuals start selling at 700, and then you drop a bunch of shares in there below market that you're selling, and it suggests to everybody this is a great time to exit the stock quickly. And then if everything is clear, you can then buy back in. But there might be news that's unknown that's particularly horrible, and it's better for you to get out now and save a bunch of money than stick around and have the stock price swing a lot lower, and therefore you lose even more money. So what we actually had happen here is not only did we get the government inquiry, but there's a report in this morning regarding a crash in London, or the UK, I wouldn't say London, that actually caused severe injuries, evidently near death. And so this also brings up another round of, do we end up with UK joining this inquiry as well, or what was going on, etc. And so the plan is to always run for the hills early, and then everything's okay. We come back in a couple of 3 days, and we're sort of in that zone currently. So I wanted to alert you to the fact that there's this 0-0 principle, because as certain stocks, particularly Tesla, gets close to the 0-0 or 650, for example, you all of a sudden have these interesting dynamics that take place. So if somebody can tank the stock 5 points, let's say 704, 703, all the way down to 695, 96, you can then get the stock to cascade south from there. So this is one of the reasons why, if you're in a tight trading situation of a week or 2 or 3, having some puts, particularly at the 0-0s, can be very helpful, because it allows you to sort of recover from this temporary downdraft that has been created to sort of make a lot of money. I would actually say that we're in a very interesting trading zone right now, because there are a lot of people or traders who lost money last week, and they're determined to get their money back. And I really think that this process we see going on right now is an illustration of them sort of flipping the script to get a W this week. So I would say So basically, the question is, what happens next? And the answer is, if Elon makes a statement, that we've got this under control, we maybe had a look at the car in question and everything's okay with the cars. That's one thing. If he does what he usually does, which is say nothing, it can start to make the suggestion that, these guys aren't serious about being car makers. There's going to be big problems with lawsuits. There are going to be all kinds of problems that cannot be solved. And so that's when you might have people get a little bit nervous, and instead of the stock popping back up off of this action, it could actually stay down until there's significant company news about things like new production or the start of Austin or Cybertrucks, et cetera. You need news like that to really move the stock forward again. So what do I think is going to happen? Unfortunately, I think what's going to happen this week is that the stock inches back up towards the mid 680s or late 680s, but then the pin process comes in, and there's a number of puts or mostly calls, but a few puts that have been put in place in the 680, 690 realm, but definitely at the 700. That is delicious cake for the market makers to hold the stock below 700 and make a huge amount of money on the people that were anticipating huge numbers from Tesla in the 620s or 720s, 730s, 740s, et cetera. So I think this is really, if you want to call it something, the revenge of the traders. They are now showing their skills at being able to manipulate Tesla's stock price profitably. And there aren't a lot of stocks that's set up so nicely for manipulation as Tesla does, because they typically are providing enough information for investors to know what's going on and be comfortable with that. And we're really not getting that information flow from Elon to give a comfort level to investors. So therefore, you end up with these wild swings. And usually they're wild swings down. Occasionally they're sort of good wild swings up. But I really think it's unfortunate. So again, I just wanted to note this is somewhat of a short show. We're targeting this whole concept of the 0-0 as we get near it. It's a real opportunity for the funds that are aggressive traders to leverage their power in the marketplace to actually jump on the stock and force it down further after they've shorted the stock, and therefore make a killing in the process with only a 10 or 15 point move down. When you have a 25 point move down, their shorts are particularly lucrative. But it's one of the reasons why investing is typically more than a month, 2-3 months, all the way up to years. And trading is that a month and below zone. And during that period, because of how good the traders are, one would have to say that anything is really possible here, and you're seeing it. So I look forward to the discussion of the 0-0 rule, and we look forward to keeping you abreast of different aspects of what's going on in investing, trading, and Tesla. Just a reminder, this is a copyrighted broadcast. No reproduction or rebroadcast of the concepts shared here is allowed and is prohibited. So just a reminder. We also want to, we actually do have a few SpaceX shares if there's interest there on that. We also wanted to encourage you to move into our health tips this time. I'm still focused on the core training and expanding the number of stretches and exercises. I'm doing that in area. I wanted to encourage you to consider looking at some of the YouTube videos on this, because I think you'll find it very helpful. We also want to remind you of the getting out into nature and enjoying exercise, or however you do it out there, but being in nature in that fashion can really bring forth great health. And I'm definitely seeing that. Finally, just a reminder, try to maintain your sleep and wake schedule the same for a couple of weeks. And if you will, sneak and nap in some time between 12 and 3 p.m., inclusive, not exclusive of that time, because it mirrors your deep sleep period at night. And you can then, I think you'll be a lot more alert if you pick up a half hour, 15 minutes to a half hour nap in the afternoon as well. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. All the concepts shared from the health standpoint are ones that we've derived from professionals. I worked in a sleep clinic at Stanford. We interviewed about 200 doctors for their perspectives, and that's where we got all our health tips, both the ones I've covered and the ones you see below. Any rate, I want to thank you again for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lehitraot, Hebrew, shalom, shalom, also Hebrew, salam, Muslim, Choda Hafiz, Farsi, Staraishi, Russian, Ni Hao Ma, Chinese, Konbanwa, Japanese, Hey Do, Swedish, Good day, our friends in Australia. And in Jamaica, we say, Nuff respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day, and bye for now. Yes, I can play, but the length of our playing is bugging a bunch of people, so I'm debating how much playing we're going to do. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.